My name is Sorcha. I'm a nutritionist and healthy lifestyle blogger from Ireland. And on this channel, I help make healthy eating simple because it doesn't have to be difficult. In today's video, we're going to look at mindful eating. What is it? What are the benefits of using it? And how can you implement it into your daily life? Mindful eating replaces self-criticism with self-nurturing. It replaces shame with respect for your own inner wisdom. So basically it's about paying attention to your food, paying attention to the flavours, the aromas, the textures, what the food looks like, how much of it you're eating as well. It's quite common for somebody to maybe open a family-sized bag of crisps or a family-sized chocolate bar and think, oh, I'm only going to eat a few squares or a few crisps. And then a few minutes later, you realise you've ate the whole thing. It's not uncommon. And that's called mindless eating. And we want to avoid that because what's the point of having amazing food when you can't even enjoy it? Also, mindful eating is about paying attention to yourself, paying attention to your body's cues. When is your body hungry? When is your body full? When do you need food? When do you maybe need something else and you're confusing it with hunger? That's what we're going to talk about in today's video. Mindless eating, so not eating mindfully, can be a cause of overeating or undereating because you're not listening to your body's cues. You're not listening to when your body actually is full or it's hungry still and you need to eat more. Sometimes that we might find ourselves mindlessly eating would be if we're emotional. So if we're sad, we're grieving, we're stressed. Some people, when they're stressed, they can't even think about food, they feel sick. Or some people, when they're stressed, they can't stop eating. So that would be one time that we might find ourselves mindlessly eating. Other times would be environmental. So where are you? Are you at the cinema? Do you buy a large popcorn and halfway through it you actually are full? But because you're focusing on the movie you're watching, you don't realise that you are full. So you keep eating. Parties, maybe Christmas parties or birthday parties, there might be a buffet out. You're walking around with your plate, you're talking to people, you're socially interacting. You're not focusing on all the stuff you're picking up, putting on your plate and putting in your mouth. You might not be hungry, you might not actually need that food. If you are, great. Take it, have it, enjoy it. Feel like, what does it taste like? What are you having? But don't go home at the end of the night thinking, oh, I'm so full, but I don't actually remember what I ate. So that would be times that we could implement this mindful eating and it would really help. Another time is if foods are off limits. So do you ever say to yourself, oh, I can't eat chocolate because it's bad for me. I can't eat crisps. I can't have takeaways because they're bad for me. The truth is, if you can't have something, you want it more. And that can be some people's downfall because if you limit yourself in what you can eat, then you're just going to end up wanting those things, which, let's be frank about it, they have a lot of sugar, a lot of salt, a lot of saturated fat most of the time. So you do want to try and limit them. But if you tell yourself you're not allowed them at all, you're going to fail. And if you don't, you're just going to be miserable because you're just not going to be able to stop thinking about them. Allow yourself your treats, but listen to your body. Do you want them? Do you need them right now? Do you really need a chocolate bar right now? Or if you go off and do something, distract yourself, will you forget about it? So think, do you really want it? Do you really need it? If you do, answer yes to those two questions, have it. If you answer no, don't. Simple. Now we're going to talk about the mindful eating cycle. You need to ask yourself these questions. Why, what, when, where, and how. The first question is why. Why do we eat? Do we eat because we're hungry? Also, why do we not eat? Maybe you're on a diet and you think you shouldn't eat. You think the less food you eat, the better, that you'll lose more weight. Those kind of questions are important to ask, because if you're on a diet and when you ask yourself this question, why do I eat? And you say, because I shouldn't, then you need to rethink things. If you're hungry, you need to eat. What you need to think about is if you're actually hungry. If you're just thinking about food because you're bored, you know there's a chocolate cake in the fridge, all you can think about is that chocolate cake. Go for a walk, clean your room, do a project, do something that will take your mind off that cake. If you still can't stop thinking about your cake, you're probably hungry. Maybe not specifically for the cake, but you're definitely hungry for food. You need to eat. The hunger scale is a great mindful eating tool you can use to work out just how hungry you are on a scale from 1 to 10. It's like the pain scale. So a 1 is being too hungry and a 10 is being too full. 1 and 2 on the scale are when you're too hungry. You've let yourself get too hungry. A 1 is ravenous and a 2 is uncomfortably hungry. You might get symptoms like lightheadedness, irritability. You might have heard of the term hangry when you're so hungry that you're angry. And you might even be getting stomach pains. You should try to keep your hunger between 3 and 6. This is where you're comfortably hungry, you're ready to eat. You won't be getting symptoms like lightheadedness, irritability, or stomach pains. This is a good time to eat. Try to keep your eating to when you're a 3 or maybe a 4. When you're a 5 and a 6, that's when you start slowing down. You're starting to become full. The last section is when you're full. So 7 is full, 8 is very full, 9 is very uncomfortably full, and 10 is painfully full. That's when you would maybe feel unwell, you've eaten too much. Aim to stop eating at around a 7, or even better, a 6. That's when you should think about stop eating. Also, if you eat slowly and give about 20 to 30 minutes for a meal, you're more likely to know when you've hit that 6 or 7. And that's the hunger scale. So it's a good idea to maybe keep a hunger diary. Write down the food you eat, when you eat them, and what you are on the hunger scale. You might find that you are just eating because it's a set meal time and that you're not actually hungry. Next is what. What foods do you eat? Do you categorise foods as good or bad? Because if you do, you shouldn't. All foods are foods equally. Some have more beneficial nutrients than others, but coming down to it, they're all food. If you are annoyed with yourself for eating that biscuit or eating that cake or that ice cream, don't be. It's done. You've eaten it. It's not the end of the world. If you constantly eat things that you feel guilty about, then you do need to sit down and think about why are you eating them when you think you shouldn't. Keep a food journal. And also, when I talked about the hunger scale, if you keep that food journal and every time you eat, write down beside it where you are on that hunger scale, then look back and think, well, I tend to eat a lot when I'm really, really hungry, and then I tend to overeat, and sometimes I eat when I'm not hungry. So then you'll be able to think, I need to focus more. When am I comfortably hungry? Hungry enough that I do need food, but not hungry enough that I will eat too much. Next is, when do we eat? Do you eat because it's a mealtime? Do you eat because breakfast is the most important meal of the day, even though you're really not hungry? You should listen to your body. If you aren't hungry when you wake up first thing in the morning, don't eat breakfast first thing in the morning. Maybe you need to wait a few hours after waking up before you actually get hungry. Don't leave it until you're ravenous and your head is sore and you feel dizzy. You might have to play about with it a bit, but you might find that 2 hours after you wake up is when you're comfortably hungry and you can sit down and enjoy a breakfast. It doesn't have to be a big breakfast. You feel really hungry in the morning and you like eating big breakfasts, great. If you feel more hungry middle of the day and you like big lunches and a small breakfast and a small dinner, or if you like a big dinner in the evening, that's when you find yourself most hungry. It's all to do with what you feel and what your body's cues are. Next is, how do we eat? Are you one of those people who eats until their plate is clean, no matter how much or how little is on the plate? Or are you one of those people who will eat until they feel full? Maybe you put too much on your plate and you feel like you have to finish it because otherwise it's going to waste. It's not. You can keep it. Most of the time you can keep food. If you want to eat it later, you can. And if you do have to waste it, it's not the end of the world. It's more important that you remember the next time you're eating, well, I couldn't finish it all the last time. So maybe instead of having 3 potatoes, I'll have 2 potatoes this time. That's mindful eating. That's getting to know your own hunger cues, your own limits. Stop eating when you're full, not when everybody else stops eating or when your plate is empty. The final question you need to ask yourself is where. Now, this isn't where you eat, but it is where you spend the energy that your food gives you. That's not a question that we actually think about very often, but it's a very important one. Now think, do you exercise to burn calories that you've eaten that day? Because if you are answering yes to that, then you really shouldn't. Food is important in its own right. Everybody needs food. Even somebody who is in hospital, lying in bed, not able to get up or move about, they still need food to live, because food gives us energy that helps our organs work. And when our organs don't work, well, that's a big problem then. Like, we could die, you could become seriously ill. Now, if you're overweight and you're exercising in order to burn calories, to burn fat, that is okay as long as you're doing it sensibly. You should never have to exercise to earn food. Food is essential, no matter what that food is. If it's a salad, if it's a grilled chicken breast, if it's a piece of chocolate cake, a bag of crisps, an ice cream, anything. If you want to treat yourself, you treat yourself. A treat, though, isn't something you have every day. A treat is a treat, like it's something you have maybe once or twice a week, depending on where you are. If you're on holidays, you might have more treats than when you're not on holidays. But you should never ever use physical activity in order to earn food, because otherwise you will end up becoming obsessed with calorie counting and calorie burning, fat loss. If you're able to recite how many calories are in a whole list of foods and how many hours on a treadmill you need to do to burn all those calories, that's not healthy for you, for your mind. If you use food as fuel, which it is fuel, but if you use it as fuel just 100% and you don't take any pleasure out of it, then you're not going to be happy. What are some of the benefits of mindful eating? First of all, you're less likely to overeat. You become more in touch with your body's cues, so your body's hunger cues and your body's fullness cues. You can maintain a healthy weight without cutting out all your favourite foods. You'll have reduced stress over food, body weight and body image. You'll be able to enjoy your food more, so you'll be able to enjoy the textures, the aromas, the taste, how the food looks on its plate. And also, by listening to your body, you will be able to give it what it needs when it needs it. Now for some tips on how to implement mindful eating into your life. The first one is to keep a hunger diary. So I talked about it a little bit earlier. It's a food diary, but you use the hunger scale. So you write down what you've eaten and maybe when you've eaten it, so around the time. And you also write down how you felt before you ate it. Were you really, really hungry? Or were you not really hungry, but you thought, I need to eat now because it's a specific meal time, or because I might not get to eat for a long time. So that's what a hunger diary is. Keeping one of those for a while might help you realise that certain times of the day you tend to eat when you're not actually hungry. Another thing you can do is keep a food radius. So that's kind of when you are somebody who, if there was a bowl of peanuts sitting on the mantelpiece and you were standing beside the mantelpiece talking to somebody, your hand would be going in and taking the peanuts and you wouldn't be realising that you're eating it. So this would be useful if at parties and the likes, look to see where is the food sitting. Go and have your plate. Put stuff on your plate. Bring it away and sit down far away. So if you needed to get more food, you would have to get up. You would have to walk towards the food. That effort, you might realise, I don't really need that food. I'm not really hungry. So I'm not going to go through the effort of doing that. The next tip is to keep your kitchen healthy snack friendly. Have things pre-prepared. Have healthy snacks sitting out. Keep away the stuff that is the sweet stuff, the treat stuff. Keep it out of reach so that you need to kind of work in order to get it. It's kind of contradicting what I said about the physical activity, but not in that way. It means that if you're short like me, to get a biscuit, I have to reach up really high to get it. But to get some fruit from the fruit bowl, I just grab it and go. So keeping things like that, keeping veggies cut up into sticks, so carrot sticks, cucumber sticks, keep them in the fridge. So if you are a little bit hungry and you feel like a snack, they're handy to just grab and eat them. And they're healthy, they're going towards your 5 a day. And if you do tend to feel guilty about eating, you're not going to. Now, in saying that, still allow yourself to have your treats when you feel that you do need them. The next one I have mentioned already. Don't just eat because it's a meal time. Don't just eat because it's breakfast time, it's lunch time, it's dinner time. Eat when you're hungry. If everybody else is eating at 12 o'clock for lunch and you're not hungry to 2 o'clock, yes, go and sit with everybody, maybe get a drink of something to kind of not be sitting there just doing nothing, watching everybody else eat. But you'll find that then at 2 o'clock, when you are hungry, comfortably hungry, not very hungry, you enjoy your food more and you're not just forcing it down in order to comply with what everybody else is doing. The next two tips kind of connect together. First of all, when you can, try to cook from scratch. You might not be able to cook from scratch every day, but you can pre-prepare meals when you can and have them ready in the fridge. Cooking, even though if you're not a chef, I'm not a chef, but I like cooking because I really get to taste the food. I know what's in it. I know how it's been made. It's also a great way to get picky eaters to eat. If children, especially, if you involve them in the cooking process, they want to touch everything, they want to feel everything, and then they're more likely to want to eat it. The next one then is focus on your food. So you've made your food, it's sitting on the plate in front of you. Don't just start shoveling it into your mouth. Focus on how it tastes, maybe even comment on it. This tastes really nice, it tastes spicy, it tastes sweet, it tastes creamy, the texture, what does it feel like in your mouth, that kind of thing. It will really help you realise what you're eating, and that is mindful eating. You're eating more mindfully then. This last tip is a big one. Slow down. Eat slower. if you're somebody who eats really fast, you probably often get up from the dinner table and you feel full, heavy, bloated. You just want to lie down and sleep. Food shouldn't make you feel that way. Food should make you feel energized, ready to go. Unless, of course, maybe you eat something that you're intolerant to, or you eat something that's not like out of date or something, you won't feel good then. But in general, food is there to fuel your body, make you feel good, and as a bonus, it's usually tastes pretty good if you're eating the right stuff. So slow down, enjoy the food. It's not going to get up off the plate and run away. It's not going to do that, don't worry. It's going to be there, it's going to stay there. If you can't finish the plate, most of the time it's fine to wrap it up and put it in the fridge, have it later. If you're at a restaurant, they're pretty good at giving boxes for you to take some home and have it later if you really want it, if it tastes so good. But just because it tastes so good, you don't need to eat it all if you are full. So that's important. Now I'm going to show you a method called the Raisin Method. And yes, it does involve a raisin. If you don't like raisins, you can use something else. So use a grape or a strawberry. I would recommend a piece of fruit, something soft that you can bite and chew. This method basically helps you focus all your senses, because we have 5 senses on the food you're eating. Very rarely do you use all your 5 senses on food, but mindful eating is about focusing on your food. So using this method will help you train yourself to do that. Take the raisin or the piece of fruit and just rub it between your fingers. And look at it. What does it look like? What colour is it? Is it small? Is it big? Does it look juicy? Does it look dry? Now, take the time to really focus on it. Like, really look at this raisin. Like, what are its features? And obviously, while you're doing that, you're also using your sense of touch. You're feeling it. You're feeling the grooves on the raisin. You're feeling it's wrinkled. If you're using something else, what does it feel like? Does it feel smooth? Does it feel soft? Does it feel hard? Does it feel chewy? Now you're going to hold it beneath your nose. And smell. It's a good idea to close your eyes when you're doing this. I've never smelt a raisin before for obvious reasons. But a lot of people do smell their food before they put it in their mouth, and that's not a bad thing. So, it smells quite sweet. Now you're going to hold the raisin just between your lips. Don't chew. It's like the wine gum shad. Don't chew. Keep it in your mouth. Let it move around. Now you're going to chew. Bite into it. Now already, and I like raisins, but already this raisin tastes different than any raisin I've ever eaten. I'm going to swallow. Now I'm going to think back. What did that raisin taste like? Can I remember? I remember how it felt. It felt dry on the outside but kind of sticky. And then it felt wrinkled and rough. When I put it in my mouth and rubbed it, like moved it around my mouth, I could feel the sweetness, the sugar. And when I let it go down my throat then, I could feel it. It's about here now. Like, most people don't do that when they eat their food. Once it's in their mouth, that's it gone, and you can't really remember how did it taste, how did it feel when you held it. If you held it, obviously, if you used a fork and knife, you would be thinking, what did it feel like in your mouth? It's your sense of touch. Did you use your eyes? Did you look at your plate? What did the plate look like? What did the food look like? Did it look big? Was it big? Was it small? Was it plump? Was it wrinkled? Was it, like, there's all those adjectives. The next thing obviously is smell. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it helps you eat more mindfully and enjoy your food more. Also, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell. And I'll see you next time. Bye.